Hello and welcome to Sister Zandi RSA. Thank you to everybody that has liked and subscribed on my channel this far. Today we will be speaking about the Batho Pele principles. Yes, I believe that it is important to give a good foundation so that when we move on and I continue to engage you on these monologues of information that's going to help us reinforce our healthcare system so that it is sustained and is more efficient, I think it's a great idea to start with what I would call the basics. Okay, so the Batho Pele principles were principles or guidelines that I had been exposed to when I was doing my first year as a nursing student while pursuing my nursing science degree. So you come across the topic in one of your lectures and you're reading about it and you engage and discuss about it, and then you also get the opportunity to be assigned at facilities while doing your nursing course to gain skill and competencies as well, practical skills and competencies. So with this opportunity, you get to walk into facilities, units, departments, and then one thing that I did notice and realize is that in every unit or hospital or department, when you walk in, almost always close to their mission or vision statement, you would find the poster of the Batho Pele principles. And I'm thinking, okay, this thing is all over. So I get to read and get deeper into understanding the Batho Pele principles. And I felt that, you know what, I actually resonate with this. I mean, this is what I'm about. This is why I joined this course anyway. This is what I want to do. So I'm going to tell you more about what the Batho Pele principles are. But first, I want to give a pointer or a tip to anybody that has the opportunity of choosing to work either through practicals or gaining working experience. To broaden your ability of reasoning, you need to allow yourself to engage with the various cultural groups we have around South Africa. So if you are a nursing student and you get the opportunity to choose which facility you're going to work in, don't always go for the facility that you're going to be comfortable speaking your home language, or you're comfortable because you're going to work in your community. Try to challenge yourself at least once in a term or a semester and choose a facility that's going to challenge you, that's going to enable you to learn about different cultural groups. This is very important because exposure separates us. So let's talk about the Batho Pele principles, and we're going to start off with the exact definition of Batho Pele, which means people first. That is the exact or direct translation of these two words. Batho being people, Pele meaning first. Okay, so what are these guidelines? These guidelines were created to help all public servants within all sectors. But remember, here we're focusing right now between the healthcare specialist and the patient. All right. So what do these guidelines do? These guidelines help us provide services that are of a high standard of professional ethics. They help us provide services impartially, equitably, fair, and non-biased as well. These guidelines also help us to make use of resources efficiently and effectively. They also help us to be more accountable, transparent, and be a development-oriented department, or I could say in this instance, personnel. So, these guidelines are people-centered and they are very essential. We polish these and make them work, and I tell you, our healthcare system will be flourishing. It will be on top. But remember, we all have a role to play. So let's go through these guidelines. The number one guideline we have is consultation. Consultation looks at the feedback that you are getting from those that are receiving services. So it can be either from surveys or feedback links or suggestion box, but it helps us receive feedback of the level of service if it's meeting satisfaction to those who are receiving the services. So what is your role as the service provider, or in this instance as the healthcare specialist? Your role is to actually encourage the patient that you are engaging with or having an encounter with to communicate their complaints in a correct way. Guide them, tell them about the suggestion box that's available in the facility, tell them about the links and channels that they can go to share their compliments, their complaints, their feedback and suggestions as well. Don't always rush to be like, oh, this person is complaining, making me look bad, making me feel bad. Okay, it's natural, you're a human being and you can have those feelings towards that. But at the end of the day, if you want to help that person change their perception and also help the healthcare system, we need to actively work with these guidelines and kind of reassign the person to go to the respective or the correct channels of communicating their grief or their happiness. Okay, and what is your role as a receiver? As a receiver, when you're seeing surveys, don't be demotivated or feel like, oh, it's another questionnaire I need to fill out. They've already asked me so many questions about my personal life, my body, my health. Engage, participate, because this is the kind of consultation we need to get back so that we are able to work towards any development, any changes that we desire. Okay, so that tomorrow you don't rock up at a clinic or a hospital and you are just unhappy about the new developments, but you yourself didn't engage in or take up the opportunity to engage by giving feedback, suggestions, or participating in surveys. So as I said, we all have roles in this. Okay, and then we're going to go on a number 2. Number 2 is service standards. Okay, service standards. Service standards need to be precise and quite measurable. I'm going to make an example. A lot of times as healthcare specialists, we're working in institutions and we get, wow, boom, boom, a newsletter from administration or from the top. And they're sharing about this new plan or these new policies that they're going to implement, and they're all for the sake of promoting patient safety, or they're all in the sake of improving the quality of the services that we're going to be providing, for our patients. And when you look at it, you're like, ish, this thing, it's not really practical. Okay, so there is no use for you to just sit there, mob and grumble and have tea room conversations about how unpractical it is. Give feedback, give open, honest feedback to the relative people on how you feel about this particular development, and also suggest a way, because it doesn't make use for you to just complain, to kick off ideas, but can't provide a solution to aid new ideas to come about. So we need to be proactive. Okay, so when we make an example as a healthcare provider, what is your role in maintaining service standards? For me, I would say consistency is key. One very essential element of the healthcare specialist feature is that you need to be consistent. You need to be punctual. Punctuality is very important to highlight consistency in commitment of service excellence or meeting service standards. Okay, so what is the role of the receiver? When we're talking about the receiver, we mean that they need to cooperate with the new strategies. Like I said, you will rock up into a hospital or a clinic, and then there's new ways that they are doing the pre-admissions or taking out of folders. Don't be reluctant, don't fight. Have an open mind, be optimistic, be enthusiastic, see how this thing is working, because you also have a role to play to see if the outcome of this new strategy is actually developing the standards of the service or not. So don't get grumpy that, oh, yesterday they were doing this like this, today they're doing this like this, tomorrow. No, be open-minded and be willing to try out things with the providers, be willing to try out things with fellow commuters. And if you feel that it is not working, share your feedback in the right way, not to just gossip while you're sitting in the bench and waiting. Do things the right way. Put it in the suggestion box. Ask the healthcare provider that's assisting you at that particular moment to elaborate on why certain things are being done this way, to give you also a better understanding of things. Guideline number 3 of 8. increasing access. When we look at it in the healthcare way, when we talk about increasing access, we need to actually note how far we come as a nation using technology and various platforms as well to give out information. And I'd like to send a special vote of thanks to all my colleagues till date that continue to make themselves available to share information on their private social platforms, to answer those "hi, can I ask something" inboxes. And somebody's sharing quite a very touching story about an experience that they had at the hospital, and they were left maybe with a few question marks, or something has happened to them personally and they just wish to get more information on how they can go about things going forward. So as a healthcare provider or a healthcare specialist, I'd like to say thank you very much to my fellow colleagues for always being available to the community. But I'd also like to urge the community to play their role of accessing websites. You can actually go into a website, access a search bar, and you'll find more information, more updated, more recent information, and even contact details of people that you can engage with that can help you directly with your actual health concern at that moment. But I'm not saying don't reach out if you feel like there's something you want to clarify, but also be proactive in getting to know information and knowledge regarding any health issue that you might have concern about. And no, you actually don't need to wait for you or someone close to you to be affected by or infected by an illness. It can be just curiosity, sitting one day and thinking, why do young people get strokes? What can I do to avoid getting a stroke? Or what can I do to make sure that a stroke doesn't lead to death? So because those information are available actually, but you just need to know what platforms you need to access. So increasing accessibility, I'd like to say we have done that, but we also need everybody's participation in continuing to accessing that information. All right, so with principle number 4, we are going to be looking at ensuring courtesy. Ensuring courtesy. So this is way more than just coming to work smiling and greeting, or your basic gestures of kindness. This taps into the healthcare specialist and requires them to actually put themselves in the shoes of their patient, or what we call empathize, because that is what empathy is, when you put yourself in the shoes of somebody. That will help you also understand the person better and even work with them better, and actually achieve a more satisfied service provided to your patient. So what is your role as the healthcare practitioner specifically for this guideline? For this guideline, I would say do not submit to the low expectations. It is very hard. I know we are pushing against mountains, not rocks, mountains that have high tides behind them when it comes to resuming work, because our community has been let down so many times. Almost everybody has their own awful story to share about an experience of being a receiver of healthcare. But that doesn't mean that you need to resume duty and submit to those low expectations. No, you go to duty and you are here. You wow them. You wow them off their feet. You show them that they are still able to receive good quality healthcare services, and we are still out here providing good quality healthcare service, being able to empathize with people, and we're able to just go beyond what is expected from us. When you're given an opportunity to clarify perceptions, take it. A lot of times you're having an encounter with a patient or somebody who's receiving healthcare services, and they are, that side shove in complaint passed by, and you're having that opportunity to clarify that no, this is being done a certain way because of this. Help them understand. Help the receiver kind of demystify these false, or I can say they're not false, some are true, but like just to demystify the negative perceptions, you know. So we have that role. And then as the receiver, when we are talking about this principle of ensuring courtesy, do not arrive at the hospital already hopeless. Remember, you need to be enthusiastic. You need to be optimistic, open-minded. We are now at the point of moving forward. We are now at the point of growing. So how will that occur if you have blocked your mind, you blocked your perception? All you know is that, oh, I'm going to have yet another dreadful experience when I walk into this healthcare institution. Rid yourself of that negative perception. Try to be more enthusiastic and optimistic. Make the environment or your specific energy more favorable for people to work with you better, because at the end of the day, the healthcare providers are also human beings. I don't think anybody would be able to work very well with somebody who's already irate or disgruntled about issues that they didn't even receive directly from that person. You know, you'd be waking up, you know, happy. I'm a morning person, by the way. So you'd be waking up and you are all happy chappy and you're at work, and then there you are, already being met by negative comments. People are disgruntled. You weren't even there the last 2 days, but now it's your fault, you see. And then now I need to work against those mountains, you know. I need to work with those chip on the shoulders, and you're thinking, wow, my day is going to be longer than what it should be. I've had quite a few personal experiences actually about this, and it's quite unpleasant, you know, resuming duty, and it's only like 15 minutes after resuming duty, and bam, you already had somebody sway out your whole family. Or you are at work and you are going for your well-deserved break, and there they go with the comments. As a community, you need to stop this. You need to also make the environment that you are occupying a more positive and a good space for people to want to work with you. Imagine being in a room one-on-one with somebody who was just throwing all kinds of vile comments about you just 10 minutes ago. You see, everybody has a role to play, and we need to meet each other halfway. So that is the fourth principle of the Batho Pele guidelines, which is ensuring courtesy. Okay, we're going to go on to the fifth and sixth principle, because I feel that they kind of overlap each other at this point. And the fifth principle is providing information, versus the sixth principle, number 6, is openness and transparency. You see, overlapping. So I always say knowledge is power. It is very important to provide information to people before a situation gets out of hand. So let's say there's a cut of water supply, and because of that, certain procedures had to be cancelled. Instead of waiting for people to come into the hospital and stand in the line, get out their documentation and that whole process, then only telling them that when it's time for them to enter into a room for a particular investigation or procedure, that, you know what, sorry, it was cancelled. Don't wait. Provide information, provide transparency as best as you can. If you do not have full information, share that. Say, you know what, this is the information I have. I'm sure there could be more. If you're willing to wait, I can go and ask. If I do not have the resources available, or maybe the person that you had to ask is not available, be open, tell the person about it. Tell the person that you're assisting about it. And the person that is receiving the care also needs to have an open mind to say, okay, you know what, mishaps happen, okay? I'll forgive it just this one time. Forgive it once. Don't let it be a habit. Because a lot of times, then, least, it is unfortunate in different districts or different areas that people just never get particular services, which is quite sad. But the relative people need to be held accountable by those same community members. So it's not about just turning around and walking away. You need to be able to actively engage and move forward with communicating the challenges you're receiving as a people, especially when it comes to service delivery. especially healthcare service at this point. All right, so we want to know, how can somebody be provided with information and openness and transparency? Well, there's charts, there's flyers, there's leaflets, and now recently there's even been SMSs. I know this because somebody close to me actually received an SMS when a particular medication was not available, and that was the medication that they had to collect at the date that was specified before. So they actually got an alert to say that particular medication is not available and they should rather come the following week. See, information provided. That removes a bit of disgruntledness from the one that's receiving the healthcare. I believe that I actually covered the 7th guideline as well with 5 and 6, because the 7th guideline is a redress. Redress looks at or focuses on solving issues immediately with an immediate response. Following up on those issues, make sure they get resolved so that you don't find yourself going back to doing the same thing over and over again. And as I said previously, as the one that you are receiving the healthcare services, when you are meeting a sudden issue, as much as it might make you anxious, as much as it might make you panic, take a moment, listen, be alert, be optimistic, take in the information that is given to you, give sound feedback, give suggestions as well. If you're going to be redirected to another institution, don't get mad that there's a sudden change and then you walk away, and then when you come back you say, no, they said that the machine is broken, they won't pay. But then just 10 minutes later, there was a resolution that you'll be referred to a different institution where you'll be catered for in terms of transport and appointment times. And you missed that because you got disgruntled and left the facility. So also, as the person receiving healthcare, you have a very important role to play. I can't stress this enough. You have a very important role to play, and it comes with being patient as a patient. I always ask this question, by the way. Why are patients called patients? Is it because they have to be patient, or is it because we have to be patient with them? Somebody needs to answer. I don't know who can. So yes, that was point number 7, which is redress of the Batho Pele guidelines. And the last point of our Batho Pele guidelines is value for money. Value for money, guys, value for money. Value for money is important. This is where making sure that your resources you use are efficient and effective. You do not want to be every time for the same patient accessing the facility, you're going to start a new document, a new folder, a new everything, reprinting the same things that you have somewhere. Okay, so value for money. You need to implement interventions that are going to help you save time, save money, and save resources as well. And we have a very important role to play in this as healthcare specialists. This is our time to shine and advocate for our patients, because a lot of times, then least, you would find that a patient is becoming a resident. You know what I'm saying? They're coming to the hospital quite frequently, but that could be because what they are coming for is not really being treated. This is where you need to advocate for your patient. You can't be letting a patient that you see is not recovered, or the interventions didn't really help them, be discharged without a further plan that's going to help treat maybe as an outpatient, and you just think that, yeah, they're gone, we've done our part, and then next week they come back. That's quite a waste of resources. That's why it's very important to advocate for patients and make sure that they get the adequate, efficient, and effective use of resources for them, so that they meet the standard of being satisfied with our healthcare services. I can't stress this enough. And when we speak of value for money, the patient as well, you can't be coming into an institution and not sharing your whole history. Here you are, you did not disclose your full history because of some reasons, only, I don't know, other reasons people choose not to share their history. But here you are, about to go for a procedure. An entire theater is booked for you, staff, equipment, and all of that. And the day before, you remember information that you should have shared 5 days ago, making your procedure now being stopped. Everybody that was catered or assigned to be there for your procedure now needs to be reassigned for us another case. And these are like wastage of resources, timing as well. Now there's a time slot that wasn't being prepared for. Now the next patient needs to be rushed over. These are the things that you also need to try to engage in as a receiver when you're coming to a healthcare facility. Give your full history. Give your full history, medication, treatment. Be open, be honest. When you are told to not eat for a certain amount of hours, don't eat and then show up and then say, but I ate. So please try harder. Try harder to work with the interventions and systems that are put in place so that everybody can have a more effective and efficient use of the resources that are available for us to use. And those are the 8 principles of the Batho Pele guidelines. Guys, we've made it through. Thank you very much for listening, and I can't wait to hear from you. Bye.